Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. How are we doing today? My name is Net Shitep Ma'at, or otherwise known as Coach Titus. Today, we are going to talk about the Washitaw. And why are we going to talk about the Washitaw? Because they are the oldest civilization in the Americas. So, everything we've covered in the last 1 through 11 days, the Younger Dryas catastrophe, the pre-Columbian civilizations, the Amazon earthworks, the mound builders, the Atlantis framework, the geological unity of the America and Africa, the Kemetic Moorish global knowledge system, all of it converges on one people, in one territory, in the Mississippi Valley, right now, today. Still here, the Washita. Most people have never heard of them. That's not an accident, because if you understand who the Washita are, with all the evidence that we've assembled the geology, the archaeology, the genetics, the astronomy, the copper network, the legal framework, the entire colonial land claim system collapses, not weakens, collapses. And today, I'm going to show you exactly why. Who are the Washita? The name itself, Washitaw de Dugdahmoundyah. Every word is evidence. Washita or Wachita, Washita River system. Mississippi Valley territory, their river, their land, their name for themselves. De, right? So the word de, French colonial period acknowledged their existence. Had to give them a French particle because they were already there when France arrived. Dugda, the root meaning constructed place, built environment, civilization marker. Mundia, of the Mounds, the mound builders. Full translation, people of the Washitaw River who are the mound builders. The name is the legal brief. Every time anyone speaks it, they are acknowledging territorial identity, continuous identity. You cannot erase a people whose name contains their sovereignty claim. Does that make sense to you? Where they are, core territories: Louisiana, Mississippi, Arkansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, and Texas. This is not random geography, yo. This is the center of the Mississippi Valley, the spine of the entire North American continent, the confluence of the continent's greatest river systems, the most powerful natural and conductivity node on Turtle Island. And they have been there for at least minimum 130,000 years. They registered with the UN Economic and Social Council in 1993, and what that means: international legal standing, access to UN Special Rapporteur on Indigenous Peoples, recognition under UNDRIP, UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. The United Nations knows they exist, even if most people don't. The time depth, 130,700 years. Starting point, the Cerruti evidence. Yo, the Cerruti evidence was published in Nature. It's a site called Cerruti Mastodon in San Diego, California. The date of this site is 130,700 years. Mastodon bones with human processing marks and stone hammerstones. What this establishes: the Kemetic Moorish peoples present in the Americas 130,700 years ago. This is the Washitaw family, not metaphorically, genetically, civilizationally, the same root population expressed continuously from California to Louisiana for 130,700 years. The population was already established at 130,000 years, folks. Already established. I don't know why you are having migrational arguments with people when you have been in this land for 130,000 years plus. Stop listening to them. They're telling lies. 130,000 years. That's not a small scouting party. This was not a recent arrival. evidence of an established population are the processing marks on the mastodon equal a hunting technology. Stone tools equals manufacturing tradition. Location, California, equals far from any proposed entry point, and implies population already distributed across the continent. By the time of Cerruti, the America's Kemetic Moorish population had likely been established for tens of thousands of years already. So 130,700 years is the earliest we currently confirm, not the actual beginning though. But we're going to get into that. Continuous presence timeline. From 130,000 years on, we have Pedro Ferrata, 50,000. Melanated populations in South America, tools, herds, rock art, continuous occupation confirmed. 23,000 before present. White Sands, New Mexico, human families, adults and children walking together, 4,000 miles from Washitaw Court territory. Same civilization, written in Science 2021, another magazine. 18,500 before present. Mount Verde, Chile, wooden structures, medicinal plants from 700 miles away, trade networks already operating, mainstream accepted. 13,000 to 11,500 before present. Luzia and Lagoa Santa, Brazil, the 80 plus skulls, 100% African morphology. Dolophylact, broad nasal aperture, prognatism. These are the Washitaw's southern cousins. Same root, same morphology, same civilization, PNAS 2005. By the way, a lot of that stuff was burned in Brazil. So we had that Brazil talk. A lot of this stuff is burned. They burned all the skulls and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, erasure. Not surprised. Wait till we get into 1854 and to 1860 when they started messing around with the churches and burning them down and bulldozing Moorish neighborhoods, loyalist neighborhoods. Oh, the theft is monumental. Anyway, the 12,800 BP, Younger Dryas catastrophe, the first civilization destruction, and it caused us at 85 to 90% mortality. But the Washita survived. So rebuilding, 11,600 BP, rebuilding begins. Survivors maintain oral tradition, sacred geometry, copper knowledge, astronomical observation. They never stopped. They never stopped. They continued. Then we have 5,400 BP, Watson Break, Louisiana, the heart of the Washitaw territory. 11 mounds, geometric arrangement. Gee, wonder where they got that knowledge from. Science, 1997 magazine. These are all confirmed, right? Oldest confirmed mound complex in the Americas. The Washitaw were building here 5,400 years ago in their own territory, 7,400 years after catastrophe. Still rebuilding, still here. Don't worry, we got more time. We got more stuff to talk about. 3,700 BP, Poverty Point, Louisiana, UNESCO World Heritage Site in 2014. 35 million basket loads of earth, 6 concentric semicircle ridges, circular ridges, phi ratio geometry. Like all these mounds had this astronomical alignments. It's a Mississippi Delta node, the Washita's greatest monument, built in their own territory by their own hands with their own knowledge from their own 130,000 year tradition. 2,200 before present, Hopewell Network peak. Continental copper trade, 2 million square miles, Great Lakes to Gulf Coast. Washitaw territory equals the center of the entire system. The Mississippi Valley equals the axis the whole network rotated around. You can't make this shit up, man. I'm telling you. 1,000 BP, Cahokia, 20,000 people, 120 plus mounds. Larger base in the Greater Pyramid, directly north of core Washitaw territory. Same civilization, same knowledge, same people. UNESCO 1982. So there's another UNESCO nomination. 400 to 650 before present, still building. Radiocarbon dates confirm it. Mound construction ongoing. within 4 to 650 years of European contact. This was not a dying civilization, yo. This was an active building and expanding civilization when Europeans arrived. 1492 CE, European contact, second civilization destruction. That's when we experienced a 90% mortality rate from disease alone. 1492 to the 1600s, same people, second catastrophe. So we had the Younger Dryas, 12,800 years after the first, and then we have slavery. So we have the Younger Dryas and we have slavery. Not wiped out 90% of our population both times, and we still survived. 1993, Common Era, UN registration, still here, still claiming, still Washitaw after everything. Like, come on, yo. The Mounds as legal deeds. Watson Brake, The Foundation. Saunders, 1997, published in Science. The date, 5400 before present. The location, Ouachita Parish, Louisiana. Core Washitaw territory. What it is, it's 11 mounds connected by ridges, oval arrangement, deliberate geometric design. And what it proves is an organized construction in Washitaw territory 5,400 years ago, requiring coordinated labor, planning capacity, territorial administration, and institutional continuity. What is the legal significance of all that? Well, the first documented physical infrastructure in what will become the heart of the Washita sovereignty claim. The deed starts here, 5,400 years ago, in their own territory. Poverty Point, the masterpiece. UNESCO World Heritage 2014, the U.S. government nomination. This is critical. The United States government nominated Poverty Point for UNESCO recognition, acknowledging outstanding universal value, exceptional engineering, civilizational significance in Washita territory. The U.S. government acknowledged the civilization while simultaneously denying the sovereignty. So the U.S. government acknowledged the civilization but denied the sovereignty. Legally inconsistent. You cannot acknowledge the civilization through UNESCO nomination and deny the sovereignty through legal framework simultaneously. That is disgusting. What are these people doing? Don't worry, you're gonna find out about what this is. There's a little story behind this staff, okay? I know you can't really tell because of the way I have this thing structured, but yeah, it's a powerful staff. Don't mess with me. So, the copper system at the Mounds, the complete system in Washita territory. Here we go. So, what do we have? We have natural telluric currents, real, measurable standard geophysics flowing continuously through Earth's crust, concentrated at river confluences. Washita territory equals maximum Mississippi Valley telluric current concentration. Multiple major rivers converging, Missouri, Mississippi, and Ohio, Arkansas, and Red River, the largest natural conductivity anomaly on the North American continent, measurable with standard magnetotelluric equipment today. Native copper deposition. Griffin, 1961, the University of Michigan says 99% pure, 99% plus pure copper. And they have a 5.96 times 10 to the power of 7 SM conductivity. Some of you engineers will understand that. Distributed throughout the Washita territory. Ohm's law. Telluric currents that are already concentrated at the Mississippi confluence system preferentially flow through the highest conductivity material available. Native copper, deposited deliberately at all the nodes. So copper is native to the land. It's right there. Okay, this is basic electrical engineering, not overclaiming. Ohm's law applied to a real system. You know who that's for. Anyway, earthwork geometry. Published surveys, Smithsonian, 1848, circular earthwork, specific dimensions, Copper Incorporated, conductor geometry determines current distribution, standard electrical engineering. The astronomical timing, Hively and Horn, peer reviewed, 1982. Lunar standstill alignments, solar alignments, why this matters electrically. Solar wind makes geomagnetic variation, telluric current variation. The astronomical alignments mark the maximum natural telluric current event. Operational timing, not random ceremony. Like, the problem with a lot of these people is that they don't realize that they're dealing with geniuses. They're looking at the people, they're looking at us like we're some kind of like farmers and we don't know. Like, honestly, our entire history is complete genius, and they keep looking at people like the Washitaw and all these different people all across the world and all these melanated societies. They keep looking at us as like we didn't do it, like they're looking for aliens or something. We here, we built it. We built it. Okay. The Washitaw system has natural telluric current, Mississippi confluence, maximum conductivity anomaly, native copper, geometric earthworks. Same in Brazil, astronomical alignment. Same in Brazil. Like, this is the most sophisticated natural electrical system on the North American continent, built by the Washitaw in their territory over 5,400 documented years, using knowledge transmitted from 130,000 year presence. The mounds are deeds. You understand? Those are land deeds. 100,000 mounds across 37 states. Ladies and gentlemen, do you understand the astronomical achievement they made? 100,000 mounds across 37 states, concentrated in Washitaw territory. Each one says, we are here, we organize, we administer this territory, we built permanent infrastructure, this land is ours. You cannot build 100,000 structures over 5,000 years and not own the land. And it's not even 5,000 years. We'll get into that. No legal system on earth has ever recognized that principle for any other people, but it applies here. Why are they doing that to us? Gee, wonder why. The geological foundation. America and Africa, same rock from day 10. Pangea separated 175 million years ago. The rock that is now the Mississippi Valley was once adjacent to the rock that is now West Africa. The Congo Craton and the North American Craton. Same geological origin, same basement rock, same ancient sea deposit. The Washita Territory and the Kemetic Egyptians Territory are two halves of the same original rock. Do you understand what I'm trying to tell you? It's the same people. So what does this mean for the Washita? The Kemetic Moorish root population, 315,000 years ago, we told you, emerged on one piece of that rock, Morocco, Atlantic coast of Africa. The Americas branch, 130,000 years, was on the other piece of that rock. They are not two different people who happen to share knowledge. They are two branches of the same root on two halves of the same geological body. The Atlantic Ocean is not a cultural boundary. It is a geological accident 175 million years old that the Kemetic Moorish peoples were crossing before it was fully open. No migration required. The Washita did not migrate to the Americas. The Americas is their geological home, the same rock their ancestors stood on when Pangea was one continent is the rock they stand on today in the Mississippi Valley. Their first address in the geological record is the same address they occupy now, 130,700 years. Same location, same people, same rock. Then we go to the oral tradition as evidence. Delgamuukw Standard, Supreme Court of Canada, 1997. Oral histories must be given equal weight to written evidence, meaning that the oral history of all of these nations is more important than anything they have on paper because it was before all of them. You get that? So in Canada, oral history is being taken into consideration now. Kawacha, right? So what the oral tradition says, decoded with the complete framework, we were here before the flood, pre-Younger Dryas presence, 130,700 years confirmed. Memory of the catastrophe equals an oral transmission across 12,800 plus years. Geological record confirms the flood. The oral tradition confirms the memory. Three independent sources agree: geology, archaeology, and oral tradition. That is the evidentiary gold standard. We built the mounds. Watson Break, Poverty Point, Hopewell, Cahokia, still building at contact. The mounds confirm the claim. You can stand on them right now. Our knowledge came from the ancient ones. Equals pre-Younger Dryas knowledge preserved. Same sacred geometry as Giza. Contemporary. Same phi ratio. Same astronomical precision. Transmitted through catastrophe. Rebuilt at Watson Break. Expressed at Poverty Point. The geometry confirms the transmission. We are the same people across the water. Americas, Africa, unity, same Kemetic Moorish root, same morphology, Lucia confirms, same knowledge system, same geological origin, Pangea. The geology confirms the unity. The land was never surrendered, never surrendered. Zero valid treaties ceding Washitaw territory. Continuous physical presence, continuous oral claim, continuous legal assertion, UN registration in 1993. The record confirms no surrender. The three source convergence for every major claim is physical evidence, the mounds, the copper earthworks, the astronomical alignments, the oral tradition, Washita oral record maintained continuously, and the documentary evidence. De Soto chronicles from 1539 to 1542, confirming a large organized civilization in exact Washita territory. Three independent sources, all agreeing. This is the highest evidentiary standard achievable. So, De Soto, the confirmation, right? So this was a enemy witness. He was in an expedition, the De Soto expedition from 1539 to 1542. There were multiple chroniclers: Rodrigo Rangel, Luis Hernandez de Bidiema, and Garcilasco de la Vega, all recording what they saw in exact Washita territory. And here's what they found. Large towns, this is in their own writings, okay? So this is their own words. Large towns stretching along riverbanks, great chiefs with organized military, mound temples with active ceremony, storehouses full of food, organized trade networks in Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, and Missouri, core Washita territory. 1539 to 1542 Common Era, 142 years before European disease had fully reduced the population. Why is De Soto's confession so powerful? Is because he was not trying to confirm indigenous sovereignty. De Soto was just trying to conquer and extract. He had every motivation to describe empty land, primitive peoples, no civilization. Instead, he described exactly what the Washita oral tradition describes: large towns, organized governance, active mound ceremony, continental trade networks. An enemy witness who corroborates your claim without intending to is the most powerful witness possible. De Soto saw the Washita civilization still operating at full capacity 52 years after Columbus. Oh my God. When you open your eyes, you can't unsee it, can you? That is 130,000 years of documented physical presence. They wrote that in Nature magazine 2017. No other sovereignty claim on Earth starts earlier, like none. 5,400 years of continuous mound construction. That was written in Science 1997 through mainstream confirmed. Physical infrastructure equals territorial administration. Continental trade network, 2 million square miles. 1961, Griffin wrote, University of Michigan, economic sovereignty documented. Astronomical precision, sub-degree accuracy, Hively and Horn, 1982, peer-reviewed. Knowledge sovereignty documented. Copper electrical system, Ohm's law applied to real materials, natural telluric currents, river confluence conductivity anomalies, and measurable with standard instruments. Three source corroboration, physical evidence, oral tradition, and European primary sources. Highest evidentiary standard, highest evidentiary standard. The UN registration, ECOSOC, 1993, international legal standing. Vatican repudiation in March 30th, 2023, doctrine of discovery equals repudiated by its own author, title chain broken at source. The Mabo principle, High Court in Australia, 1992, terra nullius overturned, direct precedent. You can use it. Tsilcot's principle, Supreme Court Canada, 2014, Aboriginal title declared over specific territory, proof method, physical evidence, oral tradition, and historical records. Exactly what Washitaw has. What is the problem? The fraudulent baseline colonial assessment of Washitaw, taken after the Younger Dryas, 85 to 90% mortality, and after the European disease from 1492 to the 1600s with their 90% mortality, forced removal, physical displacement, legal erasure, Indian Act frameworks, administrative suppression. So when they brought in the Indian Act, that what they basically doing was saying, nah, you weren't here, we don't care, and these people here have title to your land. They basically, Indian Act was like when the so-called natives signed this agreement, the Indian Act, they were basically saying, yo, this is our land, we've had it forever, not recognizing the Washitaw, not recognizing the melanated population that came before them. What my thought is that the Chinese from the Shang Dynasty came into America when we were already here. They mixed with us, and I think these people are our children. I think the natives are our children. And the thing is, we used to fight together against the oppression. And then I think along the way, because of the oppression, I think many of the tribe, I think probably like 5 of them really just said, you know what, forget it, we'll work with you. You've been killing us off. So a lot of these treaties, like, come on, treaties, like they were doing whatever they wanted, right? So the fraudulent baseline is colonial assessment of the Washitaw. They're saying the mortality, forced removal, legal erasure. Colonial powers saw reduced population, disrupted civilization, and fragmented communities and called it no civilization, therefore no sovereignty. The fraudulent baseline argument, you assessed us after 2 planetary scale catastrophes, reduced our population by 85 to 90% each time. You assessed us after your own diseases killed 90% of our people. You assessed us after forced removal from our territory, and you used that post-catastrophe, post-genocide, post-removal state as evidence that we never had civilization. That is fraud. The mountains prove we had. The copper proves that we built. The astronomy proves that we knew. The geology proves how long we've been here. 130,700 years. Your assessment was taken at the lowest point of our second civilization destruction, and you used it as if it represented our original condition. It did not, it does not, and no court applying honest evidentiary standards can allow that fraudulent baseline to stand. Can't stand. So we get into what we've been citing, right? So I've spoken to you about 2017 Nature magazine, right? The title, is a 130,000-year-old archaeological site in Southern California, USA. That was the title. The journal is called Nature. The volume is 544, and the pages are from 479 to 483. The date, April 26, 2017. And what the study shows is that the site, Cerruti Mastodon, San Diego, California, discovered during Highway 54 construction in 1992, excavated by San Diego Natural History Museum. The evidence, mastodon bones, spiral fracture patterns consistent with flesh bone breaking, not geological pressure. Spiral fractures equals standard marker of human bone processing. Stone tools, two large cobble hammer stones, two large cobble anvils, positioned near bone fragments show impact marks consistent with use. Dating method, uranium series on mastodon molars. Date 130,700. 9,400 years. Multiple independent dating confirmations. What the study does not show, this is where I need to be honest with you, it does not show who specifically these people were, that they were Kemetic Moorish, African morphology of the tool makers, any connection to Pacific living peoples, continental population distribution. The study confirms hominins were present in California. They process mastodon bones using stone tools. The dating is robust, multiple methods. The mainstream controversy, this study is genuinely controversial. Why? Because if they don't, they have to admit that we or somebody has been in this region for 130,000 years. The tools may be naturally fractured by cobbles. Can you imagine? That's what they said. Not manufactured tools with clear human modification. No flaking, no shaping, no clear tool morphology. The bone fractures. Critics say geological pressure can create spiral fractures, not exclusive to human processing. The date itself equals accepted, but the interpretation is contested. So, how are they going to accept the date but not accept the interpretation? Crazy. Published in Nature, peer reviewed, date confirmed, interpretation actively debated in mainstream. Unlike white sands, right? The honest hierarchy, Tier 1, mainstream accepted, used confidently. White sands footprints, Bennett, 2021, 23,000 before present. Human footprints unambiguous. Multiple dating methods. Now mainstream accepted. Montverde, Delahaye, multiple publications. 18,500 before present. Wooden structures, food remains. Mainstream accepted. Bluefish Caves, Bergeon, 2017, 24,000 before present. Cut marked bones, increasingly accepted. Tier 2, published, peer reviewed, but actively debated. Cerruti Mastodon, Pedro Ferrada, all of them. They dispute them. Why? Because in all our previous sessions, I presented Cerruti as mainstream confirmed, but more precisely, it was published in Nature in 2017 by Uranium Series Dating, interpretation of the hominum activity actively debated in mainstream archaeology. If confirmed, it establishes the deepest documented human presence in the America. Does this weaken the framework that I'm in? Nope, and here is why. Even using only mainstream accepted dates of 23,000 BP, 18,000 BP with Montverde and Bluefish Caves at 24,000, these dates alone destroy the Clovis first model. It establishes continuous pre-contact presence. It supports the sovereignty argument. The argument works without Cerruti. Cerruti, if accepted, makes it stronger, but it should be presented as published in Nature, contested, if confirmed, extends presence to 130,000, not as an established fact. The broader lesson, this is exactly what your electrical engineer listener was pointing at, okay? Or the guy that was, he's been commenting on my posts. Precision matters, not because of the framework being wrong, but because one overclaimed source gives opponents the opening to dismiss everything, right? So I plan to be always honest, which is why I'm talking about Cerruti Mastodon. They're going to have to accept it because outside of Cerruti Mastodon, there's lots of evidence. I just gave you a whole bunch of them, blue caves, all this other stuff. Like, honestly, Pedra, all of them, okay? Like, minimum 23,000 years before present. So, we still have a great argument. Okay? The argument is the statement is really precisely accurate. It uses only what's defensible, doesn't overreach, and still destroys the Beringia first idea. So we're leaving that door open for Cerruti when the debate resolves. It can't be dismissed anyway. You know what I'm saying? Can't be dismissed. So here's the deal. We don't actually need Cerruti Mastodon to prove anything. We don't need contested dates and we don't need debated interpretations. Why? And this is the point I was trying to make when we first started. 100,000 mounds. Why is that stronger than Cerruti? Let me tell you why. It's physically present, can't be debated, cannot be reinterpreted. Opponent cannot say those aren't there. They can't say it's not there. It's there. U.S. government documented them. The U.S. government preserved them, and the U.S. government nominated 3 for UNESCO. A contested paper can be argued, but a mound cannot. You can stand on it right now. So the numbers alone, 100,000 plus mounds across 37 states. Did you hear what I said? I said 100,000 mounds across 37 states. Do you imagine, do you know the scale of that? And this was documented in the Smithsonian in 1848, in the Bureau of American Ethnology in 1894, the National Park Service ongoing, UNESCO 1982, 2014, 2023. All U.S. government sources, all mainstream, all undeniable. So what is the problem? The labor. Single medium mound, 200-meter diameter. The ditch, 2 meters deep, times 15 meters wide, times 628-meter circumference, equals 18,840 cubic meters excavated by hand. 100 workers times 6 months minimum equals 18,000 worker days per mound. 100,000 mounds, conservative average. 10,000 worker days per mound. 100,000 mounds equals a billion worker days. Nah! What requires a billion worker days? An organized population base, agricultural surplus, workers fed while building, administrative authority, who organizes the days of labor, territorial stability. You can't build permanently if you're constantly displaced. Institutional continuity, 5,000 years plus years of rebuilding, of building tradition. 5,000 plus years of building tradition. Legal framework, labor organized by what authority? The authority equals sovereignty. That territory, their land, that institution, their civilization. No migration theory required. No contested dating required. Just 100,000 mounds in 37 states. Who else's land could it be? Watson Brake, 5,400. Poverty Point, 3,700. Hopewell, 2,200. Cahokia, 1,000 before present. UNESCO, 1982. UNESCO, 2014. UNESCO, 2023. Still building, 400 to 650 before present. Radiocarbon confirmed, 5,000 years of continuous construction in the same territory by the same civilization using the same knowledge. 37 states. This is not a local claim. This is a continental claim, north to south, Great Lakes to Gulf of Mexico, east to west, Atlantic coast to the Rocky Mountains. Every major river system, Mississippi, Ohio, Missouri, Arkansas, Tennessee, Illinois, Washitaw. The mountains follow the water follows the conductivity follows the geology. The geology is the territory. 37 states, 100,000 mounds. That is the land deed. The U.S. government's own contradictions, man. They did, so what they did with the mounds, they preserved Cahokia through UNESCO in 1982. They preserved Poverty Point through UNESCO in 2014. They preserved Hopewell in UNESCO 2023. National Park Service manages multiple sites. Smithsonian documented them since 1848. Simultaneously, no land rights derived from Mound civilization recognized. Terra nullius based titles remain in force, and no sovereignty recognition based on Mound evidence. Colonial administration continues from buildings using Moorish resonance technology sitting on captured Mound nodes. So, really, what they're trying to say is that these mounds don't represent a meaningful civilization. They look at the mountains and say that this doesn't represent a meaningful civilization, in which case, then, withdraw the UNESCO nominations. They cannot have both, ladies and gentlemen. The destruction is evidence. Now, this destruction is evidence. Original mounds documented in Ohio alone, 10,000 plus. This was documented by Squire and Davis in 1848. Currently surviving Ohio mounds, 1,000. 90% destroyed in 150 years. Yo, these people are sick, man. St. Louis, originally 26 plus mounds, earned the nickname Mound City. Currently, zero. Last major mound destroyed in 1869 for what? A bomboclat railroad. Witness documented deliberate. Spoliation of evidence. When a party destroys evidence relevant to litigation, courts draw adverse inference. Assumed destroyed evidence supported the opposing party's claim. 90% of mounds destroyed by interest holding colonial derived titles. 90% spoliation of sovereignty evidence equals adverse inference warranted. Courts should assume the destroyed mounds supports indigenous sovereignty claim, right? So you have 100,000 earthwork mounds documented across 37 states of North America, recorded by the Smithsonian Institution since 1848, confirmed by the Bureau of American Ethnology in 1894, recognized by the United States government through 3 UNESCO World Heritage nominations at Cahokia, Poverty Point, and Hopewell, representing 1 billion worker days of organized construction over 5,000 continuous years, requiring agricultural surplus, administrative authority, territorial stability, institutional continuity, and legal frameworks to organize, constituting by any evidentiary standard the most extensively documented pre existing sovereignty claim on the North American continent. 90% of these monuments were destroyed by interest holding colonial derived land titles, constituting spoliation of evidence at continental scale, warranting adverse inference in any legal proceeding where these titles are examined. Doctrine of discovery is gone. The only legal instrument by which any contrary claim could be made was formally repudiated by its own author, the Vatican, in March 30th, 2023. No alternative legal basis for the colonial title has been identified. The mounds are the deeds. The deeds are still in the ground, and the title has never been transferred. The sovereignty claim stands. That's your strongest argument, man. Is 100,000 physical structures. Like, what are they going to say about that? And they documented it, and they preserve it, and they nominated it. The government did that. You understand what's happening here, people? We don't need Cerruti Mastodon to prove it. Them 100,000 mounds prove it. That's it. So look at what happens, right? From earlier sessions that we've had in this Black History framework that I've been doing, we have 450 plus documented Amazon geoglyphs. 10,000 to 20,000 plus estimated by LIDAR. Dating 3,000 to 650 BP confirmed. But under forest canopy for centuries, only revealed by deforestation and LIDAR. What LIDAR showed, every time researchers scan a new area, more sites, more complexity, more deep time evidence. So what's happening is they keep digging with LIDAR now because LIDAR is a new is a science that they're using now. And what they keep finding is that it just gets blacker and blacker. It just keeps getting blacker and blacker. Prumers, 2022, Nature magazine, Urban Civilization in the Bolivian Amazon, published 2022. Nobody even knew it was there until LIDAR looked at it. This applies to the mounds too. We have LIDAR surveyed a fraction of the continent. Every time we survey, more sites appear, more complexity revealed, more deep time evidence. The 100,000 mound figure is not the total. It is what survived colonial destruction and has been documented so far. So the revised statement should be not 100,000 mounds built over 5,000 years, because that doesn't make sense, does it? But for 100,000 plus documented mounds represent the surviving fraction of a mound building tradition whose confirmed dates 5,400, 23,000, pre-Younger Dryas, right? So it's before the flood. It was built by populations established for 10,000 plus years before the catastrophe. That's just, I mean, we're just using dating of like the white sands and these ones, but honestly, the mounds are actually the deeds. 100,000 documented mounds, therefore present. They represent not the totality of construction, but the visible surviving fraction of a tradition extending across deep time, from minimum 23,000 before present through the Younger Dryas catastrophe through 11,600 years of rebuilding to European contact, a continuous tradition on a continuous territory by a continuous people whose full physical record lies partially underwater on the continent, on the continental shelf, partially under Amazon canopy, partially under modern cities, and partially in the 90% that colonial interests deliberately destroyed. What survived is 100,000 mounds. What existed is incalculable. What is certain is this is not 5,000 years. This is deep time. This is the longest continuously documented civilization tradition on the planet. And there's also underwater evidence. So the underwater evidence, right? What is on the continental shelf? It's the Gulf of Mexico shelf, okay? Extended 200 plus kilometers further at 23,000 BP. Sea level was about 120 meters lower. Entire coastal civilization zone equals now underwater. The Florida shelf, massive exposed land area. Younger Dryas, Atlantic shelf, extended significantly further. Major river systems had different courses. Coastal settlements equals now underwater. Published Underwater Archaeology, Fleming, 2017, Nature Group publication, documents submerged prehistoric landscapes globally. And this confirms significant human occupation of now submerged areas. Mainstream of published, Fox, 2004, Journal of World Prehistory, documents submerged archaeological sites on Florida's continental shelf. Stone tools found underwater, published, peer reviewed. What this means, the pre Younger Dryas mound tradition had a coastal component that is now 60 to 120 meters underwater on the continental shelf. These mounds are still there under the Gulf of Mexico, under the Atlantic, just waiting. That's it. Just waiting. So, anyway, it's not 5,000 years, yo. It's minimum 23,000 years and maximum 130,000 years plus. That's what we're looking at. So, folks, this is the conclusion of the Washitaw segment. Is a little bit longer because the Washitaw are extremely important, and I think if we focus on the Washitaw in the land claims, there's no question. When you look at 100,000 mounds over 37 states, that's pretty hard to say that you weren't here. That's really hard to say that you weren't here. Think about if a European society had built 100,000 mounds in America. What do you think they'd be saying? They'd be like, "Are you kidding me? We've been here." That's the difference, right? So we got to stop acting like we are Africans and Americans and this and that and the other. We are Moorish Kemetic autochthons, and we are indigenous and autochthons to the entire planet. That's not 5,000 years. It's not 23,000 years. It's confirmed presence for a very long time, building toward and through and recovering from a planetary catastrophe that drowned our coastal civilization and killed 85 to 90% of our people. And then they rebuilt, and we rebuilt. We have 100,000 mounds on the land, on the sea floor, more under the Amazon canopy, more under modern cities, deep time, continuous, unbroken, undeniable. We are still here. Please be proud of who you are. Please understand that this information is mainstream information and that your land claims are real melanated people, black folks in America, in Africa, all over the world. You have land claims everywhere because you built it all. And then the overlay came. They put up their hydro wires and all that kind of stuff when we were using free energy already. We understood all that stuff already. Long time, long time. Do not let them fool you. Don't let them fool you. Oh no. Or even try to school you. Don't let them school you either, okay? Screw you, school you. Don't let them do that to you, okay? This staff is a divination staff, okay? It's got a copper wiring on the bottom of it. See that? There it is right there. Copper wiring, okay? This staff was given to me by a guy that has the same name as me, but he was dead already. So he handed it down to a lady that is my wife's mother. And one day she said, "Hey, I got these staffs. I want you to have a look at it." So this guy was a indigenous man who carved his staff. His name was Rick. My first name is Rick. Isn't that funny? I never met this dude, but he carved all these staffs because I believe he understood the land and he understood how these staffs are important to the land. Only certain people get them. So I hope you enjoyed today's segment. It's really important to me because I feel that with all these things that we've been talking about, the Washitaw are the most important piece. They are the most consistent, and they must be recognized for who they are, finally. Because all of us, all you people in North America, South America, you black folks, you Washitaw, you all of these original people, and it doesn't matter if it's America or Africa, we were building at the same time, doing the same things because we're the same people. So stop saying that I ain't no African. Stop doing that. You're all of that. Stop saying that. Every time you do that, you are complying with a system that is trying to erase your people. Every time you do that. Every time you say, I ain't no African, or I am not American. Yeah, you're not. You're the original people. You're the Kemetic Moorish Autochtons. Stop applying to their labels. Stop accepting their labels. Because once you do that, the gig is up, bro. It's up. You guys aren't figuring it out yet, but you need to figure it out. Okay? Stop trying to get into a system that's falling apart. Build your own. And it's time to start recognizing that your people are brilliant and they're not just some hunter gatherers. They are brilliant, genius type people. Do you understand? Be proud of yourself. Anyway, that's conclusion. Day 12, finito. Enjoy your weekend. See you tomorrow, day 13, where we get into it once again. All right, people? I hope you had a great time doing this. I'm having a great time doing this. The 30-day Black History lesson from Brother Netchatep Ma'at, otherwise known as Coach Titus, is today finito. Did you guys enjoy this? Are you getting anything out of this? If you have any questions, You have any concerns? If you don't agree with some of the things I'm saying, please, 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 please send me a message. Send me anything that tells me that you are serious about learning, and I will answer all the questions you have. I'm not saying that I'm a complete know-it-all. I'm not saying that I know a lot of the technical terms. You hear me, the plasticine area, all that kind of stuff. I don't really know a lot of that stuff. But what I do know is a lot of the information that involves the people. Okay? It involves the people. Sorry, this was day 11. Anyway, so day 12, tomorrow, we'll be discussing even further Black history accomplishments and Black history in a nutshell is the world's history. Enjoy your day.